Welcome everybody to another episode of Brace for Impact. It's been a little bit. We're a little bit delayed on this one as well. Credit to me. I went out and touched grass, so the green in this background here is not the only thing that keeps me going with my calcium vitamin C intake. That's what it is, right? What is it?
I have no idea.
What makes them?
I have
It's too much
absolutely no idea.
biology
I
for
thought
me.
wasn't it vitamin D? I thought the
No,
sun gives
vitamin
you
D is the
vitamin D.
sun. Yeah, it's vitamin.
Yeah.
But what is green's like the chlor? No, green's
We're
chloroform.
off
That's
to
what
a
it is.
great start at this
Yes.
podcast, by the way. We're off to a
High school
fantastic start.
biology, it's only been what 5-6 years.
Yeah, I don't know. All I gotta say is I've yet to use the Pythagorean
Theorem: a squared
yeah,
plus b
whatever.
squared equals c squared.
Yeah, no,
I have to use the
no.
quadratic equation once or twice
Yeah,
after
no, I'm
after that.
good. I'm quite all right.
Yeah. you know, you know what else is good? Katowice was pretty good.
Oh, Katowice.
Oh,
Listen, Katowice was people like, bro, this is why you need the tournaments and the scenes. Because if you want to look at the quality between last year, pick any tournament you want, right? Because I thought season one last year was pretty competitive, but you pick any tournament you want, but to Katowice, and you can't argue that the quality and level was on something that we haven't seen before of the four tournaments so far.
yeah, it was really good, and I mean, like, you look at the group. I mean, we talked about this with Connie a few weeks ago now. And like we didn't know what to do with some of these groups. We didn't know what to do with some of these these teams, and some of these things really hit, and some of them really didn't hit. Which is somebody's gonna hide behind his little thing there. The best we can do
I
really at
make
this
no
point.
comment.
The best thing we can do at this point is dive right into it. And I think the best way to start this is with Group A because why not go in alphabetical order? First, the opening matches here: Nigma Galaxy versus Saints. We expected that one to go to Nigma Galaxy, 16-5. Saints, with that with the stand-in, they still played. They played all right. 5 rounds is pretty
They
good.
played the best they could with
They
what they
played the
had.
best, yeah, with the
Really.
best they could with what they had, and I mean
And that,
Kiki. Sorry,
I was gonna say that summed up their whole tournament practically. Was they
yeah.
played the best they could with what they had.
No, it did. I mean, Kiki standing in. Um, they didn't. I didn't get to. I didn't end up watching it, but they did an interview with Kiki. Her being a stand-in. Like, how's it playing with these teammates? Um, that's kind of That's kind of where they did the best they could. I think that's where we can put that. And then the actual match that we were so divided on. Not even just the opening match, but how they're gonna play against
Turns
each
out
other.
we were right on why it's so inseparable. Like this was one of the best maps of it. Like this set the tone.
Yeah,
This game immediately set the tone for what this whole tournament was gonna be like.
yeah, no, for sure. And it was B4 going up against HSG. They ended up playing on Vertigo, and oh my God, did they not want to get off Vertigo? Double OT. B4 ended up winning it 22-20. That's
Offset
insane.
off the play where the kit was in ramp and they left it, went for the full defuse. I was like, oh my God. Like that was the decisive round in
Yeah,
overtime. Like, had they gotten that kit and the defuse in, because they probably had time for it,
yeah.
we might still be playing that Vertigo. Like it was just like it would have at least been triple overtime. Like no other way around it. Like that was just that was an unbelievable game, really, between these two.
Yeah, and I mean, like that's the theme that kind of comes through with them, especially later into this as well. So that left Nigma Galaxy to face off against B4 to see who would become a number one out of that group. Nigma Galaxy, of course, winning 16-8. So they cruised in towards the semifinals. They already earned their spot. That left us with the elimination match and the decider match. And the elimination match, it went as expected, but a lot worse, I guess, if you would say.
Yeah.
We knew Saints were going to struggle going into that match.
Right.
Like you said, they were doing the best they could with what they had, what time they had to get ready and all this.
Right.
16-2 on both maps, both Overpass and Inferno. HSD were very, very good, and unfortunately, Saints didn't really know how to combat that, especially with the stand-in coming forward. I mean, I'm just opening up the match page now. Kiki was a negative 17, and when she was the top frag coming out of the last, like her KD was the highest coming out of their last match. That signals like oh dear, like things are happening here that they cannot combat. And I mean, R- Ramona just is always on another level. It seems plus 22 coming out of
Right.
that. She absolutely owned 1.79 rating
Look at the
2.0.
ADR across the series as well,
Oh my god, yes, yes.
110.7. Like
Just
it's really fantastic stuff. The thing to point out here too is the I believe Newt, which was it's great. It was great to see him on the
yes,
podcast or on the broadcast.
yeah,
Big congratulations to Newt. He's definitely been grinding away to add value to the scene with what he's done with the Power BI stuff.
yeah,
And it was great. But one thing to point out, and he pointed this out when COG were on the broadcast about the play, but I think he called it cost. That's with his you know accent in South African. We would call it cast probably,
yeah,
but either way, kills assists, survived or traded. Like the stats on the HSG side for this were insane. Like HFFO for the series had a 97.2% KAST. Like that is
that's really big.
insanely high. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it kind of, and it's not like I don't want to put it to one of the things where it's like, oh, one team is really good, one team is really good. I just think that the levels of skill that the players are on in terms of the Saints, where these players aren't full-time esports players, they have other, some of them have other jobs, careers, where and HSG are just full-time esports players. That creates this level of difference, and that's just what we saw in the series, really.
yeah. No, it's you're exactly right with that. And I mean, like, the, them being at this tournament was great. It was a good win for free agent teams in NA, just showing that like okay, the big demons of CLG Red and EG are not always going to be that. CLG Red will always still be the demon. They have yet to lose domestically a map, but um,
Right.
that other side, there's always the constant switching of a number two team. It's kind of similar to South America, where yes, Furia is the big number
Um,
one, but there's not as much. There's a little bit more clarity now, but
yeah, I
for
would say it's more
sure,
like South Africa, where like ATK is clearly the number one, and then
there's always a number two that kind of switches between Vibin
yeah,
and White Rabbit
yeah,
Amorales. Yeah, no,
yeah.
I 100%, I'm on with that. So yeah, HSG win the elimination match. They make it to the decider where they face off again against B4.
Hmm.
And it's a three map thriller again. Uh, HSG only won one map, unfortunately. It was B4 going through 16-11 on every single match, and that was Ancient Vertigo and Overpass.
But thought it was 16-6 for the map that
Oh, sorry, yes, it was 16-6.
HSG won,
Yeah,
because that was the shocker. Was like you were expecting a really close series. Like I was
yeah,
expecting that we were probably going to get a slugfest, especially when I knew that we were definitely playing the Vertigo
yeah,
again. Like
and because they just played it, yeah.
right, and I was like, okay, and the decider's overpass. So I looked at it and thought, if we don't 2-0, like this could be a really long series. And HSG play Ancient B4. I really love B4's Ancient. I am so in love with this Ancient from B4. They showed why. Really good map. But then HSG, it was like something clicked in their head, and they just said no more playing around, because they were out to a huge lead on the Vertigo. They had a 12-3 half after their T side. I understand. Like I would look at Vertigo and say this is probably the one map where, yeah, maybe it is a little T sided, right, as
Yeah,
opposed to CT sided. But they just looked like before we're getting close. There was a part too at the start of that map where the rounds were really close. Like before, like HSG it was constant 1v1 clutches and things like that. And but HSG just kept winning them. And so all of a sudden it was like 5-1, 6-1, 7-1. And I'm looking at it going, okay, it's 6-1, but like I don't feel like this is a blowout, like because the
yeah,
rounds have been so close. So it's like, oh, what? There's B4 is still very much in this, no matter how bad the deficit is. And then when they got around to the other side, HSG would just had the class to close it out. So that's when we got to the overpass, and I thought, right, I'm popcorn, soda, water,
the
whatever you need, like
full thing.
go to the restaurant, because this could be the marathon.
Yeah,
And it wasn't, but it was a really good overpass nonetheless. HSG kind of they gave away too many rounds on the. It took them too long to get going on the CT side,
right.
and like T side always. I say it all the time. T side overpass will always expose you. It will always expose you if you're not prepared for it, and properly prepared for it. And I'm not saying HSG weren't, but like it is just it's the nature of how hard it is to get T-sided rounds on this map, and that was proof in the second half before won 8 of the 12 that we played, and they went through 2-1. But really good series. HSG have a lot to be proud of. They showed that they are really the real deal. They're well coached, they're well led, and they have a lot of good firepower for the Asian region. So,
Yeah, and I mean
um,
that also came in with them getting invited to the RMR, which is just like a little side note to all this.
yes,
Um,
yeah, their performance here got them invited to the Asian RMR. Yeah, didn't
yep.
do too great at the Asian RMR, but they had two stand-ins.
I
So
was
you
gonna
talk about
say
Saints. Yeah, you talk about Saints playing with one stand-in, and literally in less than a week, you've got to try to prep with two stand-ins.
it
Like they
was
just
not.
there was
Yeah,
no chance. Yeah,
it's unfortunate as well because it looked like if they had their full lineup, they actually might have done some damage, potentially gotten a little deeper than they did.
I agree.
That would have been crazy. That would have been one of those things that people look at and they go, "That's something cool," because this is an HSG team, and I mean, the problem is in Europe, Nigma wouldn't can't they can't do that just because the amount of upper tier teams that are just like
Oh, the
they're
field's so
advanced.
deep in
They're
Europe. Yeah,
advanced as like RECL kind of thing. Like it's insane
yeah.
how it works out there. But with a team like in Asia or a team like in Australia or you know even a team in South Africa, there's the gap isn't as large because there isn't that depth there, which is one of those
Right.
cool things that kind of comes through with it. So
Yeah.
that ends up being Group A then, with B4 and Nigma Galaxy going through. That leaves us to Group B, and again we went a little back and forth on this, but it wasn't for the team. You know, everybody like it was between Navi Javelins, Nine Pandas Fearless, and CLG Red. We all kind of just went Fury's getting through, and they did, but not the way you
One
think.
last note on Group A. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, yeah.
We have two benchmarks now. We got the EG benchmark at 13 rounds, and we got the Saints benchmark. Like, that's too cruel to Saints. That's a little
The
cruel to
say
Saints, given they had a
the
stand-in.
Saints benchmark is 9, the EG benchmark is
Yeah,
13. When you
yeah.
can win a map, we'll get in round count. This is what
In round count, not an actual event
we're
win.
gonna
No, just
segue.
in
I'm gonna
round count.
segue this just a second here because this is I kid you not. This is an athletic article I read. I want to say like
Yeah.
6 7 months ago, and it
Okay.
was can the Canadian teams or like a Canadian team has not won the Stanley Cup since 1994 or something like that. It's been a
Yeah, I
long
was.
time.
That's big sad.
Can the Canadian teams combined win the Stanley Cup? You need to win a certain amount of matches to gather. Like you need
Oh,
to
okay.
win. It was like you need to win 16. They needed to the team to win the 16th match won the Stanley Cup. But it was all of
Okay.
them, all the 7 teams or 6 teams, and then 7 teams combined had to win 16, 16 games
Right.
total.
Right.
So there were some years where the Canadian teams did not win 16 16 games total,
Oh wow.
like combined amongst. So there was some seasons where it's like no, Canada just didn't win the Stanley, and there'd be others like oh yeah, they easily cruised to they had 21 games won, but they none of
Yeah.
them got past the semifinals or anything, that kind of thing. So
Right. Right. Right.
the I cannot wait for that benchmark where we hit and it's like yeah, they didn't win, but they got 10 rounds every single one of their maps, so they got 30 rounds overall.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. Yeah.
nearly 2 map wins. Like I'm cool with that. Are you cool with that? Like, but listen, the benchmark was not meant the bet, but the benchmark didn't really exist as a way anyways because they didn't have their full 5. I think I would have put a little
Right.
bit
Yeah.
more
Like
on it.
that's what I was saying. It was harsh on Saints. Like
It's
it's
harsh
just
on Saints.
it like if they had a stand in. It's very difficult, and it's always going to be difficult for North America because it's like there's only two teams here that are signed, right?
Yeah,
And I don't even know if EG they're like full time or they work still in the afternoon and then
I
they
don't
like
know
I don't
either.
even know. Like obviously CLG, they're full time
Yeah,
esports players. Like so just and you talk about we had layoffs in esports today. Like I know it's not CS:GO related, but still like with the way there's just the economy's going and everything, like it's going to be hard to break that trend in North
yeah.
America for at least 2023 until we're on the other side of whatever's coming, right? So, um, uh, you know, don't take it personal. They probably still will, but it is like it's going to be tough for whatever the number two team is, especially given the systemic problems now at
Yeah,
EG. That it's like oh,
I'm more than happy
you
just
just got to get there to the experience. And
yeah,
last thing I'll say is Parks. you got to play Katowice, man. Like Katowice, like it's one of the crown jewels. Like
Yeah,
the only other place that you would maybe want to play at more, aside from like the major, but the only other place you would is like Cologne. Like that's the only
yeah,
other stage with that level of history, with that level of prestige. And you got to play at a stage in Katowice. Like that is fantastic achievement. You know,
yeah. I
take
mean,
nothing away from them.
exactly. Listen, you're the number 2 team in NA to go there. Like you did amazing to get there. You did not have your 5. You're playing up against literally the number 1 team as your opening match, and you got 5 rounds. I'd say that's pretty cool. Sure, the game against HSG did not work out as well. HSG are their own kind of beast when it comes to some of these teams. Like they know how to play against certain teams really, really well, and shit happens. Like that's my one. That it happens. Um,
Fair enough.
yeah. So yeah, we we talked a little enough about Group A. I think we need to move
Yeah,
on to
let's go
Group B
back to
here.
Group B before I
So
pump the brakes on the.
yeah. So Navi Javelins, Furia Female, Nine Pandas Fearless, CLG Red. Like I said earlier, we all expected, Connie, yourself, and I all expected Furia to go through. We kind of had a bit of a debate on which other team was going to go through. I think we ended up settling on Nine Pandas Fearless because I said they looked really good against Navi Javelins in the past, and like they were the one to knock them out because they were no for 5 at the time. They were the ones to knock them out towards getting to Jokoping and see it for the season 2 finals. And boy, did this one not disappoint. Their opening match, Navi Javelins versus CLG Red, a 16-11 win for Navi Javelins. They looked good, and
They did look good.
CLG Red, I don't think
They
fully
looked
came. They
okay.
looked okay, but we wanted more. I guess it's like, but you know,
Here's the thing. Ancient is not top 2 in the CLG Red pool. You know what I
yes,
mean? Like that
yes,
that I think people have to remember. And they
yes.
put up a decent performance against them on this Ancient. Like I thought
Mm-hmm.
CLG played well. I just thought Nine Pandas. It's very weird because just speaking on Nine Pandas for a moment, I thought Saturday was some of the best Counter Strike that I've seen Nine Pandas play. Like
Yeah,
Friday and Saturday, I thought this is, or I'm sorry, I should say
Navi,
Friday.
and this is
Oh yes,
Navi.
Navi. Okay, sorry.
It's all good.
No, Navi played also. I thought the best I've seen them play. Like this is a group that's consistent, like
Yeah,
determined to stay together. And we talked about the last episode, like the pressure, like what's the pressure going to be like? But there's also hometown event. Like it goes one of two ways, right?
yeah,
Everything's dichotomy, right? Either the pressure of being at home gets to you, or you thrive in front of it. And Navi certainly thrived in front of it. They looked very good.
yeah. No, I definitely agree with you. It was we know pressure, pressure makes diamonds kind of thing, and that they showed up on opening day. They played really well against CLG Red, and they carried it into the winners match. But their opponent coming through that between either not Furia or Nine Pandas Furious, again a double OT match. This time it was on Mirage, 22-19. Furia won, a lot closer than I think any of us were expecting. Just because we
I
kind of
agree.
hold Furia. I want to say we hold Furia kind of like the Nigma Junior. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
They're
Oh.
yeah, they're the two. They're the two.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
if you're like they're gonna be in separate group. Like it's the kind of thing. Like we plan on them being in separate groups. They're gonna be facing off against like they'll face each other off in the grand finals kind of thing. That's our expectation, especially from 2022, where that is what we saw the entire year was
Yeah.
those two playing each other.
The other thing, the thing I was gonna say is about Nine Pandas too is, and the Nine Pandas played fantastic in
Yeah.
this game, right? Like they played such good Counter Strike. But to me it was like a tale of two stories. Like Friday for Nine Pandas, what I was gonna say earlier is they looked like some of the best Counter Strike I've seen them play. They looked so good. They looked so dominant on, like they looked like they were in complete control of the Mirage against CLG, which we'll get to, and that was a close game.
Yeah.
That was a close game, and they looked in control the whole time almost. So it's like Nine Pandas. I have not seen this team play to this level in a while, and I thought this is amazing. Like if they keep this up, Lord knows what's going to happen to this bracket. And then Saturday came, and it just did not look like the same Counter Strike.
Yeah.
It just looked like it's something. The spark was missing, and I felt like incomplete because I'm like, this side could have achieved so much more based on what we saw on Friday. Because what we
Yeah.
saw on Friday, it didn't look like they were going to respect any team in the bracket. They were just they were just going to run every team down. And then Saturday, I just was like, where I don't know where it went,
Yeah.
man.
What happened? I
Yeah,
mean, so with Fury and Navi winning their respective matches, they both go to the winners match, and this is where the script kind of gets flipped a little bit. And Navi
yeah. Tell me
Javelins,
about it.
they won 16-6 on Nuke against Furia, and
Yeah,
that sent waves of fucking everything. Everybody was going crazy because that is the first time that Furia might not make it out of the groups. Like they're, oh dear, like they played really close against Nine Pandas Fearless and they just lost to Navi Javelins. Like, what does this mean?
yeah.
Um,
Everybody had an eyebrow raise after the winners match.
and
Certainly.
yeah, and the huge thing of that meant that if Furia were to win out the decider match to get into the playoffs, to get to semifinals, they'd be facing Nigma in the first round,
Yep.
and
Yep.
that meant that there was going to be guaranteed a new grand final matchup between whoever was going to be playing.
Yep.
So yeah, so Navi Javelins qualify. That leaves our elimination match: CLG Red versus Nine Pandas Fearless.
Real quick,
Yeah,
1 point on the Navi Furia game is that they played Nuke. Now, if you remember, going back to 2022, especially around the season 1 time, Furia were an incredible Nuke team. Pleason helped play them on Dallas at LAN. Absolutely got smoked, right?
yeah,
Pleason help didn't want that smoke. They got that smoke anyway because Furia were so good on Nuke. So what teams started doing in Brazil regionally is banning the map. They're
yeah,
not going to play it. Not a lot of other teams did play it. MIBR kind of played it. They said, "Hell nah, we ain't playing you on Nuke. We'll play you on something else, even though Nuke is in our map pool." And this is what teams have to recognize. I don't know what the thought process was for Furia, but I think for me, looking at it as an outsider, like this is when teams have to recognize that a map is being pushed out your map pool, right? So
yeah,
if you play the Nuke all of 2022, you play it, at one of these lands, you're willing to take anybody on it. You're undefeated on it, yes. Like they were just an incredible Nuke team regionally in Brazil, but teams are not willing to play it, so you don't play it as often. So
yeah,
you're
and then
looking
you
at
lose
these
that
other
edge.
maps coming in. Yeah, you lose the edge. Exactly right. So you're looking at the ancient. You're like, we want to pick up the ancient because we think we can float it as a punish pick and maybe we can get some. Well, that's time that you're not practicing on Nuke. You know what I mean? And then we saw in the Masters Feminine at the end of the year that they were willing to play Anubis, right? Because B4 picked it to them, right? Or
Yeah,
they took it as a decider, and it's like, so now you're willing to throw the Anubis in your map pool. And I believe in the interview, Olga said they were like playing all the maps or practicing all the maps, and I'm like,
yeah,
that's that's fine, but 7 maps is a lot, and you're never going to be as equally well drilled on them. So this map is slowly, because no teams are willing to play it against them, just getting pushed out of
yeah.
the map pool. So they come in and go, "Oh yeah, but Nuke, we play Nuke. We know how to play Nuke. We're so good on Nuke." And Navi, that's freaking up there.
Yeah.
I still have my one. That's freaking up there in their map pool. So we're like, you know what? We scrim this. We feel good. We'll play you on the Nuke. And I think that was a big I don't want to say overestimation from Furia, but you know,
Something they
certainly you
need
have
to
to know when to
consider.
pivot, and I feel like
Yeah,
playing the Nuke was the wrong choice. If we got something else, I think we got a much closer game.
for sure. And listen, they found out. They found out Navi Javelins are going to be the better team on that. Um,
The more you
the more you know, and the more yeah, definitely the more
the more you mess around, the more you're gonna find out.
for sure. So yeah, that leads us to the elimination match. CLG Red versus Nine Pandas Fearless. 16-13 on the Mirage, 16-10 on the Overpass, 16-10 on the Vertigo. It's been a bit since the matches have happened. I've casted other matches since then. Memory kind of fades a little bit. The one thing I remember is it
Who's
seemed
the old
like,
man here?
who's the guy who casts more than the old man?
Listen,
um, no, one thing I remember you mentioned earlier, like Nine Pandas Fearless, they felt in control. In some of the, in some of these, a lot of the rounds, majority of these maps. The one thing I remember is CLG Red never really they could never be comfortable because there was always a chance that Nine Pandas
right,
Fearless would just suddenly have a shock round. They'd go on a 3 round run, and all of a sudden CLG Red have to climb out of that, or the lead that they had has shrunk significantly, and now they have to be way more careful. There's a lot more pressure put onto them.
right.
Um, and this was the group of death when you look at this. So it comes down to it. CLG Red end up losing 2-1. They bottom out their group, which is unfortunate. Um, it sucks really that
Yeah.
we came in with really good expectations because this team had been together for a bit now. They'd had time to acclimate. They had time to get bond and be together, and it happens, right?
Oh, you're right. It happens. Are you worried about CLG? Let me ask you that. We'll start with you. Are you worried about CLG?
I want to say yes, but
Okay. All right.
but my other side of my head tells me don't worry about
Yeah. I'm with your other side of the head. I'm on no. Two things, right? First off, um, Mads looked really good,
it.
actually. She
Yeah.
looked very good. I was like, yeah, this player's improved. Remember how I said like they need to wait and see if Mads provides the
Yes.
firepower they lost and everything? She certainly was very clutch at this land, like
Mm-hmm.
very clutch. Really, really interested to see how she keeps developing because she's in a really good system to grow.
Yes.
And I'm like, bro, this player, like, I didn't know too much of Mads when they picked her up. I didn't really I don't want to say see anything, but because like I just didn't really know the player.
There
And
wasn't
like
a
at
lot
the
there.
last land, I was like, yeah, and I was like at the last land, I'm like, right, too new, roster's too new. I can't look
Yeah.
into this.
Yeah.
100% I see why CLG picked her up now. Like 100, like
This
so
is
good.
this is the stuff that EG looked at when the police and help roster was around
Yep,
originally. They looked at that
yep.
and they said that's a core piece that we can work with and hopefully develop into a star fragger. And COG Red looked and went, yeah, but we can do it first. And so
Yeah,
they got her, and
yeah.
it 100% justified. Great player. I was gonna say had a really good series in both cases in that one map and that three mapper. The one player I guess that is worrying me a bit was Bibian. I expect a little bit more, but
Yes.
that's just me coming in and going, who are
The
the
bar
pieces
was
that I
so
want to?
high. Like
Yeah,
I feel like it's the police and help. The same issue with police and help when they were EG at season two.
yeah,
Because like you set the bar so high in season one. Like just everybody bring it back down a little bit, right?
yeah,
Take the pressure off the shoulders because that's the thing now the pressure is going to be off in the next land, believe it or not, because like season two everyone's saying you're CLG, you got to be performing better. Okay, yeah, you had players who didn't really care about CS anymore. Now you got players who care about CS. You got to get back to the top.
yeah,
But they only had like a month together where they were all in North America before the freaking land. So it was like,
yeah,
okay, hold like everybody like rosters like this need time, right? You talk about
yes,
Fury being together for a ton, Nigma being together for a ton. We talked last podcast or the one we reminisced about, where we talked about like how the
yeah,
old Nigma lineup, which had a lot of these players on it, couldn't get over the hump over Team Originum and Exit, and now they were last year they were just unbeatable. You're right.
exactly,
So it's like definitely more time, right? But the one thing I would say is I think this roster is going to be fine because I'm looking at some of the mid round calls, and there's one in specific that comes to my mind
yeah,
that I'm like, they have a very good mind at the front in Goose because they had a play on Mirage on their T side. They actually didn't win the round,
right,
but they were 4v5. They had lost the opening pick, but they made so much noise in the apps and they threw utility from mid over to B that they thought after the pick, CLG were going B.
right,
And Nine Pandas pulled everybody over, and Goose took her and the rest of the team up connector for free and onto the A
yeah,
site. And I thought you would be so hard pressed to find an in-game leader with that mindset that can make that kind of mid-round call. I've seen it from I believe it's Goddess in B4.
right,
I would say there I certainly would expect Nigma to have it with Vilga because of her experience. But like there are not many teams, even at this land, that are going to have the frame of mind to make a call like that and execute it the way they did.
yeah,
They lost that round because they lost the pick in mid, and then they took too long crossing the murder hole, and they got picked
no,
off again at the murder hole. And
oh,
so there was 3v5, and then they lost the gun duel in
right,
CT, and it was 2v5. It's like, well, you're barely gonna win 3v5. You're not gonna win 2v5.
yeah,
But when I look at the calls, they looked really good. The only thing I would say is if you go back to that Mirage, because Mirage is a real big study case, especially for CLG since they play that map a lot,
right,
and that's probably the top of their map pool. They got picked off way too much on the T side.
yeah,
They lost the opening pick way too many times. So if they can change that and solidify that, they'll actually be potentially a playoff team at the next land because Goose has a frame of mind. Like I even said it, like when they were getting picked off constantly, there were 3 or 4 rounds they lost the opening pick to the AWP, and I'm like, right, especially out mid where it was kind of parking, and I'm like, right, you need to just freaking smash with your fist one of these bomb sites. That's exactly what they did on like 11-11 or 12-12 or something like that, and they won the round.
Yeah.
And I was like, right, now they're in control. And they had a half buy come in from Nine Pandas, and then they lost against the half buy. And I was like, guys, now your economy's wrecked, and like you had the opportunity to win this map. Like they certainly had the opportunity to win this series too. But I'm like, I look at the pieces, I'm like, it's incomplete, but the pieces can fit together. They just got to put the puzzle together. And if once
Yeah.
they do, CLG will actually be, a playoff competitive team again.
And yeah, they haven't been together, so that's why I'm saying like I'm not worried. The inner panic inside me wants to worry because I see them a lot. I see them around us. I'm going, they're really good. They're really good, but it's not translating yet. It's fine. They've got time. We know they're the best in NA still, hands down. So the next step then is to translate that into international play. Like Liquid stomp whenever they're here, right? And some of those tournaments they were really struggling against the EU teams. They were really having it bad. And when they stuck it together, they kept the course, and now they did really well. I want to say it was at Katowice they did really well as well. Like they had a really good
Right.
tournament
Yeah.
there as well. So it's one of those things being a part of this region where yeah, there's not as much depth, but when you have the chance, like as long as you kind of keep the same formula running here, you'll be fine. And I think that's where we leave CLG Red really. Is just keep it
One
going here.
last quick point,
Yeah,
super quick, but I know
yeah, for sure. No,
it's
for
not going to be
sure.
elaborate. They also came back and are like still winning in Maine immediately. So like this is a
Yeah,
team that I think they're 8-2 now in Maine.
yeah,
So if they can make it to advance, which I think they have a good shot at doing,
yeah.
they're going to be playing against better competition. That's only going to sharpen the edge, man.
Exactly.
So especially going into the next season and everything else, there's a chance they're real good.
All right, so that leaves us with just the decider match left. That's Furia against Nine Pandas Fearless. The first map was really close. It was Anubis 16-14, and then 16-8 on Nuke. So Furia decided, I guess they took a look back at their Nuke and they went, listen, we just need to do better, and so they did. So that left us into the playoffs, and that is Nigma versus Furia, and then B4 versus Navi Javelins. Nigma versus Furia was again a 3-mapper. Very, very close.
Yeah,
3-mapper.
really close.
Really close. It's always going to be like this, though. We know this is what's going to happen. Like, whenever these two teams face, it's going to be close. So it was a 16-11 on Nuke for Nigma Galaxy. It was a 16-10 on Inferno for Furia. And then it went to Ancient as the last map. And can I just say, there's only one map I would consider a pug map in that semifinal, and that is Inferno.
Inferno,
You got
yeah.
Nuke and Ancient. Like there's Anubis coming. Like the diversity of the map pool is so nice. Anyways,
Yes.
1916.
Yes. As a commentator,
Thank
yes.
goodness.
Yeah.
1916 for Enigma Galaxy on Ancient. They get through. But man, like that's a semifinal that we've known to be a final. And that just kind of leads into the other side of the semifinal being B4 versus Navi. It's pretty one-sided. Navi Javelins, like we
Yeah,
said,
I was actually surprised it was so one-sided.
they
Like I
were,
thought B4 really had a shot at this final, and
yeah,
they just did not look anywhere close to being there. The Fury Enigma thing, I think it was just a mental wall. I think, but like, here's the thing with Furia, right? Real quick.
yeah.
Um, this is their first land with both core.
I was gonna say they were playing with a new player and all this. That's why,
And they
like,
went to overtime on map 3 against Nigma.
yeah,
I think they kind of just hit a mental barrier there, right? Like, oh, because and it just because they came back, they were like what 15-10 or 15-11 down, I think, as well on that ancient, and
yeah,
they found a way to claw back, like, and then it just didn't work out for them in overtime. Nigma went back to and found another level again and came out with it. So I think there's a lot like, I think this makes the next Masters Femenina really interesting because
Yeah.
B4 is the reigning champ, and they looked good. I thought before this tournament looked good. Yeah, they didn't really perform against Navi, but Navi were just straight electrifying in this tournament. And I mean, Furia looked really good too. Like I'm excited. I think it's just I don't know, man. I think there's more to come from both of those sides still. And I think this gap that we have between Nigma and the rest of the field is starting to shrink. And I think the rest of the field right now is Navi, B4, and Furia.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, like, I'm looking at the HLTV page here, and overall maps, Anna was a plus 19. She was a -1 on Nuke. She was dead even on Inferno, which was the best KD ratio on her team. She was a plus
Yeah.
20 on Ancient. Like that, when I look at that, I go, ah, that's what happened.
Yeah.
It was Anna, who really took the reins on that one, and that's
Right.
gonna happen.
'Cause yeah, and you gotta remember that Inferno 2 was the Olga show. She dominated that Inferno. Like, Fury were 11-4 up at half. Like,
Yeah,
they were in the
cruising.
front by miles. I think they even won the pistol,
Yeah,
if I remember, in the second half. So, like, at one point, it was, like, 12-4 with a pistol win. You're like, "Whoa," like, wasn't even close, and
yeah,
then Nigma started coming back in a little bit more in the second half. But still, like, you had fireworks in that because that ancient from Anna was a masterclass. That was a
yeah.
pure masterclass.
That's what you look at and you say that this is why Anna was the top player.
Oh yeah,
It's
100%.
like you can't stop her. So yeah, that does leave us into the other semifinal, B4 versus Navi Javelins. 16-7, 16-9, like you said earlier. B4 just didn't seem like they showed up. Doing a quick look at the page, um, I don't want to. You can't single out anybody, but just across the
You
board, it
could
didn't
single
seem
out
like
2, I think,
you can.
and the story for javelins, I think the whole tournament for these 2
Yeah.
was Angelica
Oh,
and
sorry. I was
Anka.
meaning you can't single out anybody on B4 for the losses, but you could
Oh,
definitely
no, no,
Oh,
no, no,
buddy,
no, not
you
at
could
all.
definitely single out Viku and Angelica on Navi Javelins for both
Yeah,
having an insane series. They were plus 20 and plus 22 between the two of them. So
yeah,
they came to play in that
yeah,
match, and it absolutely showed. And I only wish we had had the same kind of thing coming through in the grand finals, because that was Navi Javelins versus Enigma Galaxy. Again, the home favorite in the grand final. That's huge. And first map goes 16-9 the way of Enigma Galaxy. They get onto Vertigo. The first map was Nuke. They get onto the next map. They get on Vertigo. 22-19, and that was Nigma's pick. And Navi Javelins
yeah,
brought it so close. And again, a huge part of that was Viku and Angelica both fragging out. Viku only ended up a +1, and Angelica was a net 0 on that series. But
right,
like,
but
crazy.
they played really good
Yeah,
on that second map. That second map, I thought, "Oh god," I was begging for a third map too. I was like, "Please, where the gods, give us the third map."
yeah,
Oh man, because it was just exemplary. Like, so, Inferno would have been pretty insane, especially considering Nigma got almost smashed on it by Furia, right? I was like,
yeah,
"Oh, give me that Inferno." But no, we didn't get it, unfortunately. And look, if you're Navi, you're upset you didn't get the third map, right?
yeah,
Because you felt like you were in it and it certainly was there for you. But you can be proud of how you played the whole tournament. You played some of the best CS you've played all season, like all year long. Like, remember that when they went 6-0 and then they didn't make it through the playoffs for the season 2 land. They
gut
were
wrenching, gut
devastated.
wrenching.
Like, this is how you respond to something like that. Like, you come out and you absolutely just kill it and crush it in the next tournament. And you know the look, well played Enigma because they won, right? And they, when they were pressed at the highest pressure moments again, they've come through, right? Pressure makes diamonds. They've got quite a few of them on the team, and that came through at the very end. So you have to congratulate them, right? But you have to think going back to that poll I made at the start of the year, what was the storyline going to be for 2023? Remember, Fury will be number 1 in the world, CLG will win a LAN, or Nigma's going to win all 3.
Yeah.
And I thought Nigma was going to win all 3. I seriously don't think that now. I think there's no way. I think teams are hunting them down,
Yeah.
and they got real close at this LAN, and they're going to be even hungrier to take them down because they've shown that I'll 1 or 2 more rounds go their way instead of Enigmas, and they will take them down. So that's what I think is that's what I'm looking out for going into the next LAN. But we'll see. We'll see how season 3 is right around the corner, so we'll see.
Yeah. I mean, we just to kind of put this little bow on the whole thing. The top 3 players, as of from rating wise, you just sent this to me, and of course coming in number 1, 1.12 rating overall in the whole thing. Viku and Angelica, players 2 and players 3. 1.10 and a 1.07, so both of them showing why Navi was in the final. I do want to point something insane out to me, which I never, it breaks my mind thinking about this.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Olga came in at 4th.
Yep.
ADR of 102.21.
You saw that too? I was like, okay, yeah. Great minds think alike.
Olga, which is frags. Straight up, just frags.
And this is not her first LAN where she averages over 100 ADR. The crazy thing is, right? If you look at the top 10, right?
Yeah.
She's got the highest number of rounds played as well. That's the crazy part about it. It's 102.21 ADR and
over 168 rounds. Because those stats work together.
Those are kills. The rounds is the 4th column. Over 205 rounds. So that's the insane part. Like, that's what's so crazy about this. And it's like, she's just such a good player. Like, such a good player.
That's
like, this
insane.
is why she was FemaleCS.com's number 1. And then this is why she was my number 1 as well.
Yeah.
But then again, you look at the impact lane, you look at that ancient, you go, that would be why anybody else is number 1. Like, you know what I mean? There's a case for either of them.
You know, differing spots.
The big stat I want to point out is there's 2 players on here I want to point out actually, and number 5 is GFI. Now you could say, yeah, she played Saints. Understand? I totally understand, right? She played Saints in 36 rounds, right, of her 154.
Yeah.
She averaged 89.29 ADR. That's the second highest of anybody in the top 10, right?
Right.
So, and averaged the second lowest deaths for a team that went out in 5th, 6th. Like that.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive. Just at her age to be doing that and being that competitive on the world stage, I think it's fantastic. It just shows you how great a player GFI is, and I know she's become a fan favorite because of she's got a great personality. You know,
she does.
People love her. It's fantastic. She's fantastic. But I want people to also respect, like, and understand, like, even though she never really has been on the world stage for her whole career, and it's been like little blips here and there, for the most part, right? Like, just how good this player actually is. Like, how good she actually is as a Counter-Strike player. Because this is a player who could have come into Europe, and maybe it's not like some other players who've come to Europe who they're still on like pug teams, unsigned teams. You know, this is a player who could have easily come to Europe and been on Enigma Galaxy. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's how good she is. And the other one is Argent from HSG, who I think is very underrated in the amount of lifting that she does as a rifler. Like, or just as a player in general. Didn't mean as a rifle, just as a player in general. Like, she's a lot of the punch that HSG has.
Yeah.
As well. And she had a very good tournament. She had a really good tournament. Lowest deaths of anyone here at 95. And overall, just like nothing to wow you away, but just consistent numbers through the whole tournament and good performances.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that is Katowice in a nutshell. Enigma win. There's a lot of great performances coming out. We're seeing players really start to shine. You're about to say something.
Yeah, who was your MVP?
Oh.
I'm putting you on the spot, Sparks. Putting you on the spot.
I honestly, I think I got to be that guy and give it and give it to Anna just because
Okay.
it makes the most sense.
Yeah, she would be mine too. But if I had to pick to be different, like if you picked Anna and I was locked out of Anna, I would say Biku.
Yeah, I think those two, like, they're the reason they're the 1 and 2.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
had the
Yeah.
best performances coming out of that. So,
Yeah.
listen, congrats Enigma again, another win. A lot tighter though overall. It
Yeah.
seemed in the race there, and with the new groups coming through for season 3, and the new way the
Yeah.
format is, like, sky's the limit. It is going to be absolutely insane at the season 3 finals in Dallas, which we are both going to. Hooray!
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Sorry. Forgot about it. Yes. I have to still book the plane and everything, but yeah,
Oh my goodness, book the plane. I've already booked it.
I don't have the money to book the plane
Oh my
yet.
god.
Listen, bro.
We'll get there. We'll get there. Sell
Yeah,
some of
we'll
your
get there.
stocks. Sell some of your stocks. Get
No,
the
that's not the. I'm gonna. He's nuts.
Easy.
Absolutely nuts.
Yeah, you know what else is absolutely nuts? Segue.
Segue.
NA roster changes, because that's
Oh yeah,
all we've got right now. It's
yeah,
what I need, Benny. It's what I need.
yeah. You're right.
Listen,
Frosters are so volatile in NA. I just don't
it's
understand it.
great. I will say before this though, like, at the time of recording this, our qualifier has already happened. I'm gonna say
Yep.
we're gonna pump
22nd of February.
yeah, we're gonna pump the brakes on that one. The
Yes,
first
we'll come
qualifier.
because we still have another qualifier this
We have,
weekend, so we'll do the coverage of that
we'll
next
do the
time.
coverage of all the qualifiers the next time around. This one was special just for Katowice. Katowice, it was a Katowice finisher, and then essentially a little bit of a life update for the rest of the squads coming through. Yeah, we've only got NA at this point. I was actually, it was so funny. They're gonna hear typing. They're gonna hear typing on the podcast because somebody was messaging me about potential roster moves in EU, and I was like, "Oh, please share." And they're like, "Oh, they haven't happened yet." And I'm like, "Yeah, I can't say anything yet." Then,
Right.
big shifts though. Apparently, if
How
it
are
happens,
you like the rumor mill now?
the,
Sources
listen,
tell apart.
somebody needed we needed a Matt in ESL Impact, and that's what we got. And it was so funny. It's so funny when Matt, big and tall Matt, for anybody who
A
doesn't know.
Matt or like an old what's
No,
his name?
no,
Jerry Lou was his
I have
name,
no
I think?
idea. But like
I think yeah.
in hockey,
DK,
it's
an old DK.
yeah. In
Jerry
hockey,
Lou's his actual name,
in
DK,
hockey,
yeah.
it's a Bob McKenzie. This guy comes in on
Yeah.
the trade deadline, just drops
Woj,
like
you're the Woj.
he just drops
You're
like
the Woj.
3. He drops like he drops bombs for 3 hours, and then he just leaves back into retirement. It is hilarious. He just comes in for the one thing that he wants to really do. No,
Yep.
listen, we needed to. For anybody who doesn't know, Big and Tall Matt is the owner of LCA Broadcasting, and because he works
Right.
so close with a lot of these orgs in NA, he hears a lot about some of the rumors and stuff. He hears a lot about roster moves and like who's picking up who. He hears about it way before anybody else. And so sometimes he'll drop like little tidbits to us, and he'll just be like, "Oh yeah, you expect this roster to be
We
picked
didn't
up
mean
soon."
to expose
Yeah.
Big and Tall Matt, and now he's lost all his sources. So,
No.
we understand anybody, yeah.
So we listen. We needed that for Impact. A lot of the players tend. Sometimes it's me poking and being like, "Hey, what's happening?" And other times it's I'll be talking to them. I'll just be like, "Hey, so what's up? What's new?" And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this and this," and I'll be like, "Oh,
Anyway.
anyways.
Roster changes because we are running out of time.
Roster changes. Yeah, specifically within NA, I think we should start with the big good news to come forward. Is Eros has picked up a squad. They picked up Girls by Power. So
yes.
you can't. I understand where you're coming from, and I agree because they did not look good in the first qualifier as much as I anticipated that I wanted them to.
And you know what the funny thing is, they looked better than what I'm used to seeing them.
Yes,
like
that is another. But again, we cannot talk too much about that qualifier.
Right.
So yes, it
right,
is one of those things.
Look, I'm happy for Eros. There's a lot of good guys at Eros, right?
Yes.
Like Bindi and Cross.
I love those guys.
I have so much respect for those two, right? I have a lot of respect for the players on Girls by Power. Actually, I really like the players on this team. They're some of my favorite players, but like it's just as people to talk to in the scene. Like they're.
Are we jumping the gun because they have yet to qualify? I think that's.
I think
that's the kind of the root of the issue.
That was my concern. Because let me just say this, and
Yeah,
I'll expose myself out there. Matt had asked me, the same guy you were talking about,
yeah,
what is this team like? And I said this could be a fringe team. Could be a team that qualifier number 2, they sneak in,
yeah,
or they're not an impact at all.
yes.
And we've yet to see the results. Obviously, stay tuned for the next episode. But like, if you're with the availability of talent in the scene, I would have thought you're
Somebody
going
else.
for a Chimkin who's got a direct invite and isn't
Yeah.
signed. But
Although,
you never know. Like, there's more than factors. Like, people could have been asking for too much. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you
yeah,
never know what led
there's
them to
other
leave it.
factors.
Yeah.
There's other things there for sure. Speaking about Chimkin, actually, while we're thinking about it,
Yes.
they have acquired
Eh,
Andrea and Mizami Duck as a coach. So Andrea comes in off of the Valkyries disbandment, of course.
yes.
With Shimmer becoming a full roster now, having um, Empathy, LX, Lisa, Vanessa, and Abby.
Yeah.
That's two.
That's a
That's
roster to
that's
watch, my friend.
in my mind. It's CLG Red, and I love this. I love this stuff. Shimmer and Chimkins,
Yeah,
and
I
then
agree.
EG
That's top
Saints.
3.
And Saints is like Saints
I
is
put even after Saints we're about to talk about, I'd still put
yeah.
them above EG.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, I'd say Saints fourth, and they're fighting EG fifth kind of thing. Like
Yeah, that's that's
that's the
fair.
kind of because we and this is the thing, we have not seen them play Chimkins or Shimmer yet. There's
Right,
no baseline to
right.
say how do these teams stack up. As soon as they
You're
play each
right.
other, we can see where. But as it stands in terms of form right now, CLG Red, Shimmer slash Chimkins, because those are the two teams we've seen a lot of.
Yes.
And
Yes.
Chimkins have done very well in open so far. That's another big thing to be
Yes.
reminded of. They've had a really good season so far. But yeah, speaking of Saints, Paula has left the squad. She after Katowice they came back and she said she was looking for team, so they're looking for a fifth. Um,
Yes.
that's kind of that's where that sits. And then U-Turn, who again is probably one of those fringe teams that has yet to qualify. They're close though, and they look really good. They've been around for a month now,
Yes.
and I am really impressed by their growth and their improvement. I love it. They've done okay in open, but considering it's their first season together, there's a lot to like about
Yeah.
this squad. They picked up a player. They picked up Haley, which is
Yeah.
a really good pickup for them, and it helps them after losing Pinecone, who's moved back into more full
Yeah.
time broadcasting
Radiant,
stuff.
I think, signed her, right, as a
Yes,
full-time producer.
yes,
Which,
yes.
congratulations for both of those. That's a great fit.
Oh, perfect. I yeah. I mean, shout out to Pinecone because like she does so much. I think that production will focus her into more Valorant again. But like the fact that
Right.
she came back to play CS:GO and
It
was
warms my heart.
it's
It
so
really does.
like and she was I think she was self-labeled a super sub just because like
Right.
her availability was not consistent just because of her work, but when she played like she came to play and they were prepped to
Yeah.
play with like yeah.
Before she was sorry,
No, no,
finish
no,
your point.
no,
I'm sorry.
no, no, no. There was no point to finish other than great player.
Mhm. I was gonna say before she went into production full time, like even before she got hired by NSG when she was freelancing from her home in Canada,
Yeah.
like she would play CS on the side, and I used to commentate some of her games. She was a really good player back then.
Yes.
So the
Yes.
fact that like she still has this high level of skill, like I absolutely love Pinecone. I adore Pinecone, and that's why it warmed my heart so much because it's like it's almost something coming full circle. But it's great to see that like she's still very skilled at the game,
Hmm.
and it's always there for her whenever she does want to pick it up in between whatever she's working on. Like that's the wonderful part about CS in general. So I was just super happy that we got to see a little bit more Pinecone play in CS.
And then the one last thing I will drop before we get towards the end of the podcast here. The one last thing I'm going to drop, it is not official yet. Not official.
Okay.
EG have a new player, and it is an import, and she has played on an impact team before. So
Interesting.
that is coming. It is pretty much all but confirmed at this point, considering where that player is in terms of ESA roster, in terms
Okay.
of just there's no Twitter announcement or anything yet, but like I like I said, I was talking to Snicky, I was talking to Leon about this, and they said like it's
This
all
is the
but
place
confirmed.
for Impact
It's
exclusive.
all but confirmed at this point, considering
Okay.
the watching that we've been doing on this. I mean, credit to Leon. They've been keeping a close eye on the EU scene, and what's going on around there, because
Yeah.
that's one of the holes that we have, is because we're both in NA, and we work full time. Our hours are limited, and it leaves us with the weird
Yeah.
scenes instead. We got the North, South Africa, and we've got
Australia.
Oceania, and yeah,
Yeah.
Oceania. Like there's
Australia, New Zealand, ANZ.
yeah,
So
and then you're trying to do South America, but I think
South America's great. Whenever you want to taste the South American Counter Strike,
listen, I would
we'll
love to
duo, man.
I would
It's
love to
so
watch that.
good.
I
It's always a
can't,
time conflict with NA though. Like that's the only time. It
and
always runs over.
I can't speak Spanish or Portuguese, so
You
I
don't
run
have
it.
to.
I
We
know I don't
broadcast
have
in
to, but
English.
if I'm gonna read any of the reports, if I'm gonna try and like follow them on Twitter, it
Oh
becomes
yeah,
a bit
yeah,
of an
yeah.
issue trying to
Yeah,
rumor
yeah,
mill
yeah,
that
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's much easier in the English speaking countries. Anyways,
Yeah.
gotta get into the end of
But
this now. Well,
if you do want to follow that news and you don't mind using Google Translate, dust2.br.
yes,
Great resource for it.
yes. Oh my God, yes. I have not used us2br enough. The
Yeah, really good resource for
the
it to see
NA
down there.
the US side is starting to pick up a little bit. It's been a bit hit or miss, I found. Sometimes the
Right.
coverage is really good. Sometimes the articles are just kind of meh. Like the articles mentioning who won the first qualifier, I didn't really like that article. I thought it was a little just
I,
too. Here's your information. They didn't mention
yeah,
players. They didn't
yeah.
mention the teams, other than the teams that won and the names of them. The names of teams don't mean anything to anybody though, because nobody knows these players as well.
And especially in a scene where the turnover is so
It's
like
so
players are changing
it's so volatile.
teams. So, yeah,
It
yeah.
it's a bullish market. Ah, did I get it right?
No, it's a
Oh,
sideways market is what it is. It's
no.
chopped is what it is, because that's what these rosters do, is just get chopped up all
Yeah.
the time. So if you're going into the NA market, you want to own volatility. Okay,
Yes,
I'm
you want
just
to
saying.
own well. The squad's name is actually Volatility. They just came together. No.
Yeah, yeah, right.
um,
There's a great idea for one, by the way.
yeah,
Anyway,
call it Team Volatility. Listen,
yeah.
teams, come to me asking for names. I will name your team, and I will get you help with making a graphic, because I am a bored human being with nothing but an imagination and creativity with words. Speaking of creativity with words, not at all. What are you watching? There's no creativity there. What are you watching, Brady?
Okay, fair enough. Look, I appreciate the effort. It was a half decent segue. I'll give you credit for it. It was decent.
Thank you.
Can I say the Union? Because MLS is back, baby. No, but aside from that, even though we got the worst playoff format news yesterday,
Yep.
um, I'm watching this. I'm gonna try to watch the second qualifier. Obviously, if it goes into day two on Saturday,
Yeah.
um, I'm gonna be at the game because it's
Yes.
opening
Yes.
weekend.
Yes.
But I am going to be watching those qualifiers. I didn't get a chance to watch the first one because I was
Yeah.
Valentine's Day weekend.
You were having fun.
Um, yep, it was a lot of fun actually. But that's what I'm watching, and I'm also watching the announcement for season 3. When is it going to start?
Yeah.
Where's the form for the broadcast? Can we not get the form to apply for the broadcast
Who's the
when
wild
the
card
day
country?
before? Yeah, can we please get it like at least a week
It's...
or the weekend prior, not the day prior to the event starting?
My favorite
But
thing was Chimkin not getting announced on their website, only on
yeah,
Twitter. And so it was it was just TBA on to be announced
yeah.
on their website. So we knew the 3 invited teams initially. They just never said Chimkins until on Twitter,
Yeah,
and
we'll
that led
go
to a
over
whole
that
bunch of stuff.
next pod as well, because
Yeah.
we'll probably cover that along with the qualified teams, right? So,
Oh, for sure.
definitely look forward to it. But that's what I'm watching. Parks, my friend, what are you watching?
Well, I'll be casting qualifier number 2, and Leon will probably be doing the same with me. So we'll be keeping an eye on NA. Unfortunately, I have to work during the Friday, so I can't like
Yeah,
just stay at
tough.
home and I listen. I would love to take it off, but there's family members in here who would look at me and be like, "Why are you doing this for free when you should go to work and earn some money?"
Trust me. understand.
Other than that, I mean, I'm following Chimkin's season in Open now as much as possible. I try to watch their games. I don't always get a chance to, but whenever I can, I do. It's honestly, it's really fun to watch them, and it's one of those things of like we only see so much CS come through in the regular week to week kind of stuff. It was just impact stuff. And there's a lot of gaps in between. And the ESEA seasons, even if it's not exactly the best content in terms of just watching, because you're not always going to get these really nice matchups. It's just going to, some of them will be kind of ugly and not really that close. I enjoy it. So that's kind of where I go with it. But yeah, that's what we're watching.
Yeah.
Mr. MLS over there.
Yes, sir.
Do you before we started the pod, you had an interesting story about that jersey. I feel like you might.
Oh, yes. So this jersey. You want to know the story about it real quick?
Yeah, you got a minute. Let's go.
Okay, so this is an old school jersey. This is the WESG limited edition world champion jersey from their WESG 2019 trip.
Yeah.
I believe it was 2019, or it might have been 2018 because it took place in 2019 because WESG does that weird thing, or did that weird thing. They're no longer around. But this was only released for the tournament. And am I gonna have to take the jersey off or turn around?
I think you can
The
turn
player
around.
on the back is a player who I had a lot of fun for. Can you see it?
Yeah, it's backwards. It's
Oh, because it mirrored.
yeah.
Okay,
It's
but
mask.
yeah,
Oh no, it wasn't then.
really
Sorry.
good
I'm
player.
dumb. I just can't read cues.
Oh, it's all good. She's retired. She's living her life, living
Yeah.
it up in Belgium with a full time career. So hope she's doing well. Somebody give her a shout out, point her to the
Oh
podcast.
my
But
god.
she stood in for CLG in this tournament, and they won the whole event. So yeah, it was a really big, a nice throwback, and this is, to me, is one of the better jerseys because I have a ton of the 2008 ones,
Yeah.
and they're okay. I, the more I look back on them, the more I'm like, that wasn't really a great jersey, but this is a nice, clean look when they had the Omen by HP
Yeah.
partnership. So yeah, really cool jersey.
All right. Well, on that note of the really cool jerseys and the really cool stories and the
Yeah.
really cool things to watch and the really cool event that we just went through. That is it for this episode. Thank you very much, everybody, for watching. Episode 11 in the can. It feels good to
Done
be
and
in
dusted.
double, and I feels good to be dedicated into the double digits. It really does. Take care, everybody, and we will see you in the next one where we go over all the qualifiers and anything else that has happened because every 2 weeks there's a whole bunch of stuff. Always is. Take care.